Have you ever asked yourself, why do you feel exhausted even when you haven't done anything physically strenuous? Why is it that sometimes, after what seems like harmless conversation, you end up feeling uneasy, empty, or hurt? I've observed this not only in myself, but also in many people around me, and the answer lies in something seemingly small: oversharing. We are living in an age where everything is brought into the light, from personal emotions to deeply private plans. Social media, hurried conversations in coffee shops, even within close relationships, people share a great deal and then wonder why they feel drained, judged, or even betrayed. I'm not saying you shouldn't open up, but I want you to understand something clearly. Not everything needs to or should be shared. There are parts of your life, like precious gems, that only truly shine when they are carefully protected. Keeping things private is not the same as hiding. It is a deliberate act of safeguarding what is sacred from the invasion of the outside world. And I want you to reflect. When you share a dream, a pain, or an unfinished plan, you are giving away a deeply personal part of yourself. But is the other person sensitive enough to receive it? Do they understand the deeper context, the true emotions behind your words? Or might they unintentionally bring you skeptical looks, mismatched advice, or a cold indifference that wounds you without them even realize? The danger doesn't lie in others intentionally hurting you. The danger lies in you hurting yourself by opening the door too early, too wide to things that should have been kept private. Sharing with the wrong person at the wrong time is like opening the doors of your soul in the middle of a storm. You're not just cold, you're at risk of being swept away from yourself. Protecting your privacy doesn't isolate you. On the contrary, it helps you maintain a safe inner space where you can restore, regenerate, and choose how to show up to the world with intention. There is a deep peace in knowing what to keep for yourself. That's when you understand that timely silence is not weakness, but a higher form of strength, a strength of discernment, of inner freedom, and of unshakable trust in yourself. I'm not asking you to live a closed life. I only want you to realize this. You deserve to be protected from the eyes that are not yet ready to understand you. You don't need to say everything to be seen. You don't need to strip every layer to prove your sincerity. True depth shows through moderation, through your ability to recognize the value of what lies within. Start today. Before you share something, pause for a few seconds and ask yourself, does this really need to be said, or does it simply need to be preserved as a sacred part of my inner world? When you learn to protect what is precious, you're not just protecting yourself, you are cultivating depth, stability, and even the respect of those around you. I know there are moments when you feel something big is stirring within you. A plan, a new direction, a dream you've hidden deep inside for years, now beginning to take shape, gaining form. And in that moment, all you want is to speak it out loud, to tell someone, just so you don't feel alone, to seek a look of empathy, an encouraging word. But my dear friend, hear me out. Speaking it out loud is not always the right thing to do. I once spoke too soon, and what I received wasn't support but questions that seeded doubt, half-believing, half-skeptical glances, fragmented advice from people who had never lived in my heart. I understand that feeling. It isn't loud, but it silences you for a long time, not because you're disappointed in others, but because you gave away a dream when it was still too fragile. Your plan, your future, it is sacred. It deserves to be protected, kept warm in a space untouched by outside eyes. When you speak too soon, you're not just opening the door for the world to step in, you're also opening it for the seeds of doubt to fall in. No matter how strong you are, the human mind is easily influenced by negative feedback. And soon you begin to think, am I being foolish? Am I really good enough to do this? Questions that weren't born from me, they came from others, yet now they cling to you. My dear friend, I don't know where you are on your journey. Maybe you're 25, just beginning to envision a life you truly long for. Maybe you're 50, 60, seasoned, bruised, and now yearning to live once, truly and honestly. Whoever you are, I have a small wish for you. Leave a comment below. Tell me where you are starting over in life. Just one line. I am ready. I don't need your full story. I just want to feel your presence. And that, for me, is already a complete joy. Your dream doesn't need to be announced to have value. It needs action, quiet action, steady action, action that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Let your results speak for you. Let your steady footsteps answer every question. And if someone asks, why are you so quiet? Just smile and say, because I'm preparing for something I can't yet put into words. Keeping your future plans to yourself isn't being defensive. It's the highest form of respect. Respect for the dream, respect for the journey, and most importantly, respect for yourself. Finances are a sensitive subject. It's not just about the numbers in your bank account or how much income you earn. It's a map that reveals your habits, life values, personal priorities, and even limitations you've never spoken aloud. And I want you to understand, the more private you are about your finances, the more emotionally secure and in control you'll be. Oversharing about money doesn't make you more open. It only makes you more vulnerable to misunderstanding, judgment, or unexpected harm. You may think that sharing how much you earn, your standard of living, or your investments is a way to motivate others. But in reality, the human brain doesn't respond rationally to financial information. It responds emotionally, jealousy, comparison, judgment, even subtle disdain. These are very real, very human emotions, yet difficult to control once people hear about someone else's financial success. You don't need to hide out of fear. You keep things private because you understand not everyone is mature enough to handle your success or your struggles with fairness. I've seen people get taken advantage of simply because they were too open about their finances. Unjustified loan requests, misjudgments of character based solely on income, even the loss of precious relationships just because someone felt incompatible upon learning you earn more than they do. It all started from one simple thing. You shared too much, too early, with the wrong person. Finances are not just a part of your life. They are the core that shapes how you choose, how you live, and how you are perceived. And for that reason, they deserve protection. You don't owe anyone a financial report. You have the right to succeed quietly, you have the right to struggle quietly, and you have the right to choose who is worthy of knowing about your financial journey, not because they're curious, but because they genuinely care and are able to walk alongside you. So if someone asks you about money, learn to smile and gracefully change the subject. Not because you're hiding anything, but because you're protecting something more valuable, your peace, your freedom, and your self-respect. These things cannot be bought, but they can be easily lost if you don't know how to guard them. There are things in life that need to be spoken out for relief, but there are also things that, once exposed, don't heal you. They only make the wound spread wider and linger longer. Family matters belong to the latter. Families are not perfect, and they never will be. But my dear, families don't need to be judged. They need to be protected. Because once you place the most private parts of your home under the eyes of outsiders, you're letting the roots of your being face the wind. I don't deny that at times we need someone to confide in. The invisible pressures, the unnamed conflicts, the emotions suppressed over the years. But before you choose to speak about something related to your family, ask yourself, is this person truly trustworthy, sensitive enough, loving enough to hold what you're about to say? Or are they merely listening so they can retell? Or worse, are they listening with judgment you cannot control? Every family is its own world. There are stories only insiders can fully grasp, the inner struggle, the sacrifices, and the layers of silent emotions behind the cracks you see on the surface. When you speak of things not yet healed, unresolved, you don't just hurt yourself. You may also hurt the ones you love in ways you never intended. No outsider can completely understand the story you're living. You can seek out a professional, a guide, a true listener, but don't let rushed conversations or emotional outbursts turn into reasons for your family to be judged, misunderstood, or worse, turned into someone's casual story. Preserving a private space for your family is the act of a mature person, someone who loves enough not to cause more hurt. Family is a place for healing, not a stage for exposing faults to the world. When you stay silent at the right moment, you're not avoiding, you're protecting not just them, but yourself. So that when the storm passes, the threads of love are still intact. And if you truly must speak to someone whose heart is wide enough, eyes deep enough, and hands gentle enough to hold your story as something sacred. Keeping family matters private is not about being fake. It means you understand some things don't need to be proven, only preserved for healing. And sometimes just knowing what truly matters, you've already protected the little world you call home. There are moments when someone sits in front of you, their gaze softens, their voice slows, and they begin to share a deeply personal part of their life, a pain, a hidden memory, an unhealed wound, or a truth they've kept buried for years. They don't need your advice. They don't need you to fix anything. They need only one thing: safety. And in that moment, even if no one says it out loud, there's an unspoken agreement between you, a pact of trust. Keeping family matters private is not about being fake. It means you understand some things don't need to be proven, only preserved for healing. And sometimes just knowing what truly matters, you've already protected the little world you call home. There are moments when someone sits in front of you, their gaze softens, their voice slows, and they begin to share a deeply personal part of their life, a pain, a hidden memory, an unhealed wound, or a truth they've kept buried for years. They don't need your advice. They don't need you to fix anything. They need only one thing: safety. And in that moment, even if no one says it out loud, there's an unspoken agreement between you, a pact of trust. My dear friend, one of the most precious things someone can offer you is not praise, not a gift, but a piece of their inner world they rarely reveal. When someone chooses you to share what they cannot tell anyone else, you've become the keeper of a fragment of their heart. And because of that, you hold a responsibility. Not the responsibility to retell, embellish, or comment, but the responsibility to protect. The world today is full of conversations that begin with, "Don't tell anyone, okay?" And only days later, what was entrusted becomes floating gossip among strangers. Not out of malice, but from a culture that treats trust lightly. But you are different. I want you to be the person others feel safe with when they walk away from a conversation with you, not because you speak well, but because they know what they left in your heart won't be carried anywhere else. Trust doesn't appear on its own. It is built over time through how you listen without judgment, keep quiet without bragging, and empathize without needing to show it. And when you honor your silent promise, you're not only protecting others, you're proving the character within yourself. Because true kindness is not found in what you share with the world, but in what you are strong enough to hold back. You may never hear a thank you. They might never know that you stayed silent for them, that you resisted the urge to prove you knew the story. But that's okay, because what you're doing isn't for recognition. It's about living true to a value you want to carry for life. Kindness that doesn't harm, loyalty that needs no applause, and trust, a gift reserved only for those deep enough to hold it. And if today someone chooses you to open their heart to, understand this: you are not just hearing a story, you are holding a piece of their soul. Guard it with the quietest reverence you possess. Have you ever done something kind for someone and then walked away without saying a word about it? No photos, no social media posts, no need for anyone to know, no need for anyone to thank you. If you've ever done that, you understand deeply what I'm about to say. The greatest acts of kindness always dwell in silence. We live in a world where every kind deed seems to require acknowledgement, posting, and sharing. A charitable meal, a few words of encouragement, an act of help. If no one witnesses it, does it still matter? I want you to pause and take a look at yourself. Does your kindness truly need the spotlight to hold value? Or is it most beautiful when only you and the recipient are present in that moment? Not for fame, not for applause, but for one simple reason: you could, so you did. I believe the purest acts of kindness are those that don't need to be told, because when there is no need for recognition, you act from the heart, not from the ego. When there is no need for a reward, you give because you understand. To help someone through darkness doesn't require the light of a crowd, only a warmth glowing quietly within you. Sometimes it's the silence after a kind act that touches people more than any story ever could, because they realize you didn't help for gratitude, you didn't give for praise, you didn't linger for admiration, you simply wanted to do the right thing. And that is the essence of character. I'm not saying you shouldn't share inspiring stories, but I do want you to be clear: sharing to spread value and showing off to assert yourself are two completely different things. One builds trust, the other inflates the ego. And you, the one reading these words, I believe you are deep enough to know what is worth keeping. True kindness doesn't need a camera, it needs empathy. It needs a heart that listens, it needs eyes that can see the pain others hide so well, and most importantly, it needs a soul quiet enough not to seek validation for doing what's right. So if tomorrow you do something kind, just do it, then walk away in silence. Because sometimes the deepest kindness is the kind no one sees, yet it has the power to change an entire day or even a life. Health, it sounds like something everyone cares about, everyone asks about, everyone wants to share. But have you ever noticed the more people know what you're going through, the more drained, pressured, and scrutinized you begin to feel? I don't deny the good intentions, but there's a very thin line between genuine concern and unconscious curiosity. And what you truly need is not attention, but peace to heal. Health is not just physical, it is your mental state, your emotional landscape, your beliefs, and your ability to recover from adversity. When you're tired, you need space. When you're battling something inside your body, you need stillness. But many people, instead of offering that to themselves, share their stories, hoping to be understood, to be comforted. That's not wrong, it's just not always healing. You need to know not everyone is sensitive enough to grasp how you're truly feeling. Not everyone knows how to listen without judging, and not everyone is mature enough to hold your personal information as something sacred. Some people will ask about your health just to have something to talk about. Some may say a few sympathetic words while secretly doubting you, and some, despite good intentions, may offer rushed advice that only makes you more confused. That's why you must be cautious about what you share. When it comes to your health, if you need to speak to someone with expertise or someone who has truly gone through similar pain and carries within them a heart strong enough to hold space. You don't need to post it. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove that you're strong. You are allowed to be tired, to be weak, to slow down, and still protect the privacy of your healing journey. Because strength does not come from everyone knowing you're fighting. It comes from the resilience you quietly nurture, from each breath you regulate, from each slow step you take forward without needing applause. Let your health be a sacred space where only those truly worthy are allowed in. If today your body feels weary, your mind feels heavy, please don't force yourself to appear okay. And don't rush to tell everyone about it either. Keep that for yourself as an intimate act of respect for the healing journey that only you fully understand. Have you ever shared a very real fear of yours with someone and then regretted it afterward? Not because they did something wrong, but because you realized they weren't deep enough to understand, not close enough to empathize, and not sensitive enough to hold it with reverence. We often think that sharing brings people closer, but the truth is, sharing with the wrong person doesn't make you stronger, it only leaves you more empty. Weaknesses and fears are the innermost core of every human being. They are not just about the times you've failed, the pain you've endured, or the confusion you might be feeling. They are a mental map that only you truly understand. And once you hand it over, you are also giving someone access to the most fragile part of yourself. Not everyone knows how to use that access with kindness. Some people will listen to understand, but others only listen to remember. Some will quietly keep your story within their heart, while others will repeat it in a room where you're not present. And then one day, when what you once trusted them with returns to hurt you, you'll start to doubt every connection, not because the world is cruel, but because you opened your heart too quickly, too easily, to those who weren't ready to receive it with responsibility. I'm not advising you to live closed off or to hide everything, but I want you to know discernment does not make you weak, it makes you mature. Strength doesn't lie in revealing every scar, it lies in knowing what to keep for yourself and in choosing the right time, the right space, and the right person worthy of your openness. That is the art of protecting yourself with grace. You might be afraid. You might feel overwhelmed, asking yourself, am I good enough, or can I get through this? Those questions are real, but don't hand them over to someone who lacks the sensitivity to understand that you don't need answers. You just need a safe space to breathe. And if there's no one like that yet, let that space be you, because you are fully capable of embracing your own fragility without displaying it to the entire world. Not everyone deserves to know your fears. Not everyone can be trusted to keep your vulnerable truths safe. And not every closeness is built on trust. Protect your weaknesses as something sacred, not because you have something to hide, but because you know exactly what is worth preserving. There are people who enter a room without saying much, and yet you can feel their presence, their steadiness, their depth, their truth. They don't need to show off their accomplishments. They don't need to talk about what they've overcome, but the way they carry themselves tells you this person has walked through pain and still chooses to move forward, quietly but unwaveringly. That is the strength born from quiet resilience, a power no one sees while it's being forged, but one that commands the world's attention once it appears. In today's world, where everything is shared, broadcasted, and constantly seeking validation, those who choose to keep their resilience private are often misunderstood as distant, withdrawn, even indifferent. But listen, silence doesn't mean someone has nothing to say. Some choose silence because they understand words don't heal everything. And sometimes stillness is the most powerful language. Resilience is not yelling, I'm fine, every time something goes wrong. Resilience is facing the pain, the fear, the loneliness without needing acknowledgement. It's waking up every morning, even when exhausted, and still reminding yourself to keep going. It's knowing that not every moment will have someone by your side and choosing not to stop anyway. It's continuing to believe in kindness even after being hurt too many times. True resilience isn't loud. It's the quiet flame that burns steadily in your chest, not to burn others, but to keep yourself warm. And if you're living through days when no one sees how hard you're trying, when no one knows how much stronger you've become, I want you to know you're doing incredibly well. You don't need to tell, you don't need to prove, just continue. Because the deepest things always take time, and the strongest things are always forged in silence. Don't let your silence make you doubt yourself. Don't think that just because you don't speak of your pain, it isn't real. No one else needs to know the battles you fought. Your knowing is enough. And that alone makes you stronger than anyone who's ever received applause. Because true strength doesn't lie in the clapping that follows victory. It lies in the moment you rise from failure with no one to comfort you and take another step forward with quiet faith. You don't need to tell the world how resilient you are. Just keep living, keep moving, and keep holding on to your inner stillness, because in that silence lies the foundation of a strength that nothing can shake. In a world where everything seems to be brought into the spotlight, where people compete to spill, share, and expose every fragment of their lives on social media in exchange for a few likes, a few fleeting moments of attention, I want to invite you to take a step back. Step back into the quiet space where your worth doesn't depend on being seen or acknowledged, where maturity is not measured by the number of stories you tell, but by the things you choose to keep. You can be the storyteller, but you can also choose to be the guardian. And between those two is a vast distance of courage, of depth, and of kindness. Being a guardian doesn't mean hiding. It means understanding that not everything needs to be spoken. Some emotions are meant to be fully felt within. Some wounds don't need to be laid bare in front of others just to gain sympathy. Some truths, when held in the right place, with the right person at the right time, become ingredients for healing, but when exposed too soon, too much, they easily become recurring pain. You were not born to tell the world everything about yourself. You were born to discern what is sacred and deserves to be protected. Choosing to be a guardian also means having the strength to stand between others' curiosity and your own urge to spill, and to calmly say, I know what needs to remain private. That doesn't make you distant, it makes you grounded, because every time you keep a truth for yourself, you are preserving your control, your freedom, and your inner peace. The more you can hold the depth within you, the closer you are to your truest self, and not just with your own stories. Be a guardian when others come to you in trust. Don't carry their words elsewhere. Don't turn their confessions into conversation fillers. Be the kind of person someone can walk away from and feel safe, because they know what they shared will stay with you. As a silent commitment, you may never receive applause for staying silent at the right moment. No one will celebrate you for what you didn't say, but you will gain something far greater: trust, and a deep respect that only those who are calm, wise, and truly loving can ever hold. Be that kind of person, the one who doesn't need to reveal everything to be seen, the one who chooses to guard so others can trust, so you can be at peace, and so this world can have one more quiet place where the most important things are safe.